You are listening to the Nightly News Podcast, the voice of the Knights.
Welcome, everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I am so honored to be joined by one of my absolute favorite guests in the history of the 200-plus episodes of the Nightly News Podcast, Sandy Box. Sandy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. Always good to be here.
You know, Sandy, one of the things that we were talking about before we got started here today is the amount of podcast episodes that you've been on. Obviously, we just finished 200 episodes, and I do want to reiterate, in case you did not listen to the 200th episode, Sandy was honored at our 200th podcast celebration, given our Shining Star Award. This is an award that we've given out since 2018, and some heavy hitters have been a Shining Star, including Dr. Jared Reif, Steve Hassinger, Adrian Thoman, and many others. And again, I did not list you off. Please don't take offense. But of course, Sandy, our 2024 Shining Star.
Yes.
Do you know what that represents, Sandy?
I just figure it's my personality.
Yes,
Well,
of course.
Well, of course, you have a glowing personality. There's no question about that. It's really to thank and honor those who have helped us get to where we are. We are a very nostalgic group because we're very close in 2025 to celebrating our 10th anniversary. And so when you get to those milestones, when you get to 200 podcasts, you really start to think, who are the people who helped us get to where we are? And without a doubt, you are one of those. Obviously, when we have you on, it's as your role as the executive director of the Central Penn College Education Foundation and all of the wonderful things that you do to not only raise money for student scholarships, but promote those scholarships. And of course, the best and most fun that we have every single year, the golf tournament.
Yes.
So we are so happy to have you on, Sandy, and really just want to have you on today to wish you a fond farewell.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Sandy, before we get to the rest of our guests today, I just wanted to point out, we found out before the show, this is your 16th appearance on the Nightly News Podcast.
16.
What do you think about that?
I'm like a bad penny that keeps showing up.
Oh,
I don't
bad
know.
penny. Hopefully you're lucky one, right?
Yeah,
Give
exactly.
us good luck.
Yeah.
We haven't done rankings in terms. Obviously, Adrian, I believe, still holds the
Right.
title for most appearances. Steve's up there too.
He is.
But I don't know. I think you might have him edged out.
I might
Steve?
be.
How many
It
Steve
might be
been on?
close. It might be very, very close. I was going to say because it's athletics, it's career services, it's the foundation. So, yeah, I'm not going to get anywhere close to Adrian, but I might just have to kick Steve Hassinger out of it.
Get him out of here.
And nothing's saying after retirement you can't come back and be on the show.
I can pop in and see what's happening.
Absolutely.
Just talk about life. Give us a little rundown of what's been going on, you know?
Retirement.
We're
yeah.
also really happy to meet Trisha Comstock. Trisha, you are taking over Sandy's position, and you're very, I hope, you believe that you're fortunate that you've gotten to work with Sandy during this time as this
Absolutely.
transitional period. Let me ask you, and of course we'll talk a little bit more about your background and things like that as we get to know you a little bit, but the number one question that I would have for you would simply be, what is it like to take over for somebody who is loved by the campus community?
It's an honor. It's an honor to have her here while I'm still trying to acclimate to the position and learn from her what she's done over the years to contribute to the success of the foundation and the students and the college. So it's also a little stressful because you hope that people like you as much as they like her.
I'm sure we will.
Big shoes to fill.
I
mean,
do.
The shoes fit, though.
That's right. Exactly.
And we're also being joined by Nightly News news correspondent and our general education work study, Noah Lopez. Noah, as always, it's such a pleasure. And of course, later on in today's show, you will hear Noah's news podcast for this term. Something that continues to improve and is something it's always fun to be in here with you, Noah, because just to be able to see the joy on your face in doing vocal work and voice recording. I mean, you're just natural. And you've really shown some great improvement over the past few terms, and honored to have you and be a part of producing the news podcast.
Oh, wow, man. Wow. Well, you're really giving me my flowers here, man. I didn't really expect to hear that today. Thank you. Thank you so much. But we're talking about Sandy, right?
And this is a good transition. The thing about all of this is that the Nightly News doesn't exist because I want it to or you want it to. It's a team effort. We've always had a team, and not only that, we've always had supportive folks like Sandy here on campus. And Sandy, I want to offer you this opportunity, and I'm sure this is something that you have done in your last couple of months, is reflection, is thinking back about not only just your time at Central Penn, but your career spanning multiple decades working in an industry that you are basically putting your entire life for student scholarships.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that I've ever actually asked you this question. What was it originally, even before you came to Central Penn College, that got you in and allowed you to want to do this type of work?
Well, let's see. I mean, I started out in working for the Commonwealth, and I was there for a while and realized that I'm really not one of those kind of people. I can't just go in and do the job and leave. There's got to be something to excite me for it. So I left there, and I went to work for a group of psychologists and psychiatrists for 10 years.
Oh, wow, that's a pretty long time.
Yes.
I bet you have stories.
And it was eye-opening to see how many different types of people need help in various ways. I mean, I help the students through scholarships, but being in that position, you see that everybody needs a little help at some point in time. So went from there, was at another job where I did some crediting the trauma centers in the state of Pennsylvania. And that was, check the boxes and do all that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay. So then I went to work at HAC. And that's where I got into the scholarships and the fundraising and all of that. And what keeps me going is the reaction of the students who received the funds, how appreciative they are. I mean, I've had students stop by the office, not only here, but when I was at HAC, stop by the office, give me a hug, crying, because they couldn't figure out how they were going to make it from payday to payday, and how were they going to pay for their tuition because they had to pay for groceries or something like this. So it's that. It's that personal connection. It's that personal that you're making a difference in somebody's life.
You kind of skipped over something there that I want to just go back to. So when you went to get the job at HAC,
yes,
what was it about the job? I mean, you didn't even, the things that you said are all valid now.
Right.
How could you have possibly known that when you agreed to take this job in the first place?
Well, what it was, I took the position of Alumni Association director, and I was to do outreach with the alumni to get them more involved in campus, and all. That's what it started as, and then it kind of morphed into something else because I guess somebody saw that I was better at one job than I was at another, or that I connect with people, and so they use that. I guess they use that for their wins.
Financial gain.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
One of the reasons that I've shared this with my students, Noah will certainly attest to this. I have this conversation with people all the time that, generally speaking, I don't want to speak for all of my colleagues, but I'm sure some of them would echo what I'm about to say. We get into this industry not because it's a lucrative career by any means. We get into this industry because this is something that speaks to us, that motivates us, that gives us purpose in our life. I mean, realistically speaking, could any one of our faculty members go work in the private sector and probably make a considerable amount more money? I would say yes.
Right.
In many industries,
correct.
Right? I don't want to say across the board, and I don't want to generalize, but I'm just speaking for myself and certainly some of my colleagues that I know. I do this because it is rewarding.
Right.
And I can see that I make a difference in people's lives. And I see people who are graduates. For example, I just over the weekend got to catch up with two Nightly News Hall of Famers, Parker Rose and Tyler Coleman, who also were very active in applying for scholarships.
Right.
And I see what they have done with their lives due to the education and, to the point where we're still friends, even, years later. And so that, to me, is why I've chosen this career path.
Right.
Not for monetary gain, but for sense of purpose. And I think that's why I've always gravitated to you, because you, even more so than me, your whole life is dedicated to this point for other people. and sacrificing for others. And I just find that so admirable. And again, part of the reason why, not only that, you're really awesome, just generally speaking. And you have an unbelievable podcast voice.
She's got the podcast voice. She does have the podcast voice.
I think she missed her calling on the air. And hey, maybe in retirement you can come down and we can make your own podcast. But that all being said, I just think it's so honorable that you have spent your life giving back to others.
Thank you.
And that's why I've always been I've always gravitated to you, and we've always gotten along really well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's, I think it has something to do with the fact that I was born into a big family. So it was like help take care of and help people as they need it. My daughter gets a little upset with me when we go places because she'll say to me, I'm always putting the carts away, or I pick up clothes off the floor and hang them back up on the hangers, and she'll say, you don't work here. And I said, I know, but if it helps somebody, then it's good.
It also, I have to say, it makes me really angry when I go to a grocery store and the carts are left in the parking lot.
Right.
Like, why are we leaving them there? Come on, man.
There's a cart return right there.
Exactly.
So
and it also gets in the way. It's a danger to people who are like parking because you could bump into it and then boom, your car's totaled.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then on top of all that, then I belong to the Rotary. And so one of our that's the big focus of Rotary, is helping others that are less fortunate than I am. So, and I consider myself a very fortunate person. So.
Well, I can't even put into words how thankful I am for the relationship that we've developed over the years, but I can only speak for all of my students. I've been fortunate enough to be on the scholarship selection committees basically since I've been full-time here.
Yes.
It's something that's very important to me. And obviously, I am a huge advocate for the scholarship. The biggest thing to me is the day after you send the emails telling people that they've received money, after I've compelled my students as assignments to fill this out. I can't tell you how many emails that I have received from a student who didn't want to do it, only did it because it was an assignment that I made them do, and then received some money. Right. I think so many people just think it's sort of a long shot, and then obviously we tell people 80 to 85% of the people who apply get money. So I don't want to go down that path because scholarships aren't open until next term. We'll have Trisha on again next term to talk more about this. But I just want to tell you that is all the reward I need, is to see the smiles on people's faces when they walk in that next class and are so proud that they've received a scholarship. And that's all you need. I mean, that's reward enough.
It is. When I read every thank you note that comes through, because of course that's one of my requirements. I don't know whether it'll be a requirement coming forward, but that's one of mine. And so I sit and I read every thank you note. And some of them are, just the basics, thank you so very much. But there are others that I sit and read them and I'm thinking to myself, we made a difference. We made a difference in this person's life. And that's really what's important to me, is if I can make a difference in one person's life on a daily basis, I am so fortunate.
Well said.
That's what we all want to do, right?
Yeah.
Well, I do want to go over to Trisha. Trisha, for many on campus, I know that hopefully most of us have met you to this point. I had the opportunity to say hello to you a few times. Just want to get an idea, a little bit about your background, but how your background played into you getting this position, and why this position was one that you were so interested in when you came here.
Yeah, so I took off some time whenever my children were small, but then when I returned to the workforce, I went straight into fundraising and found that was kind of my passion, what drove me, what I was really good at. And I've worked with students, K through post-secondary education students, for over 15 years. I'm really, really passionate about education equity. I think everyone should have access to education despite any financial needs that they have at all. So I was kind of looking for my next challenge, and I saw this, posted, and it's been just the absolute perfect match for me.
Next challenge? Is that a challenge?
Yeah, it was a challenge.
It's a challenge? You're challenging yourself to this right here?
Well, I was ready to learn something new and step into a new role and begin a new journey.
Why did you really, what made you really, really want to come here specifically? Why Central Penn?
I think that, this is near and dear to my heart because I believe in our community, and this is in my backyard. I live about 3 or 4 miles away.
Okay, so it's like close. It's close as
It's
well.
close.
Okay.
And not only is it like an easy drive, I know that's where you're going, and that's definitely a plus. But it's, we have students coming from South Central Pennsylvania mostly, and I love being able to impact students from anywhere and then have them graduate with skills and education that they can go into the workplace and give back, in that capacity to local businesses. And I think that it just empowers people, and I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that journey.
I feel empowered already.
One of the things
Empowering.
that I have people that ask me about, how I ended up here. One of the reasons I love it here so much is I literally was born in Harrisburg Hospital. I spent the bulk of my life in Cumberland County where Central Penn College resides. I went to Carlisle High School. Now I'm a resident of Mechanicsburg. I live on Main Street in Mechanicsburg, which is awesome. Super great place to, raise a family, and there's such a nice little hometown feeling. That's why I like it here, is that I'm supporting people in the region that I've lived in all of my life, short the 4 years that I lived in Western Pennsylvania when I went to Slippery Rock.
Right.
Of course, this was still my home, though.
Right.
And so that was always something to me. And it's funny because, I just finished my PhD recently, and we'll talk more about that next term. I'm going to have Noah and I talk a little bit more about that.
Okay.
But the reason I say this is, for people who I don't talk to a lot or not necessarily in my inner circle, the first question is, well, what now? And I always just say, what do you mean, what now? Like, I'm staying at my job. I'm going to continue moving forward. I'm hopefully going to go up for promotion in 2025. But to a lot of people, like, somebody graduates, that's the first question. Now what? Well,
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't.
What do you do?
I couldn't imagine going somewhere else. This is not only a place that gave me a chance, but it's also a way for me to impact the region that has had such a major impact on me.
Correct. And I have a similar story. So born and raised in Cumberland County. I was born at Holy Spirit, so right across the river from Harrisburg. And I've lived here my entire life, if you take out college and grad school. And I love this area, and I want to be in this area. I want to give back to the area that has supported me so much. So very similar story.
What about this area do you like the most? Because a lot of people here, they say there's nothing going on over here.
Well,
These people are not creative
Yeah.
or trying.
No.
There's nothing going on. Like, what is there to do in Enola?
Enola. Well,
Enola, yeah, Enola, Somerdale. But I mean, right across the river, you have beautiful City Island. You have the
Oh, yeah, you have all
Susquehanna
that.
River.
That's
You have
all nice.
Carlisle. You have downtown Mechanicsburg. I mean, there is a lot, and
Capital
it's
City, too.
it's also a really nice place to raise a family. I know students may not be thinking that, but you're local. I mean, you're close to all the big cities as far
True,
as
you're
you
right
know,
next to everything.
Baltimore, Philly, Pittsburgh,
New York is right
New
up.
York.
Yep. It's not
Yeah.
even like 3
It's
hours
a nice
away. It's really
location.
close.
Yeah.
I think let's just say this. It's great to know that we have that in common. So anytime in the future, I can always come back to that. And I just think that that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've already had these pleasantries before, but welcome to the team.
Thank you.
And yes, you have big shoes to fill,
Yeah.
but you seem prepared for the challenge.
absolutely.
you.
She's the same size, actually. The shoes
Yeah.
are the same size. Yeah.
Let me just ask you one quick question. What has it been like having Sandy to work with over the past couple of
Oh,
months?
Lord.
Well, she paid me before I came on here, so I'm supposed to say no.
Oh,
I would go back to it's an honor. I mean, she is. No one knows the foundation and the inner workings better than her, and I am so grateful to have the. I don't know how many weeks it's been, 7 or something like that. That I can learn from her and just absorb everything. I'm trying to be a sponge and absorb everything before she goes. So I've been incredibly grateful for this time.
Imagine just being dropped into this job.
No,
you
we're
need some
no,
training,
yeah.
No, of course. That's
you
not
could
what I
probably
meant.
do it, right? You figured it out.
No,
Oh, Sandy's like, oh, here you go. Bye now. I'm leaving.
that would be a nightmare.
Yeah, that would
no,
be.
It'd be a good dream.
It'd be a journey, huh?
Yeah, it'd be a journey. It's an adventure, a challenge.
A dream?
challenge. There
I don't
you
know.
go.
A dream would be the thing I would call it.
Well, Sandy, in just our final few minutes, I just want to allow you an opportunity to talk about some of the best memories that you have from being a part of the foundation for so long. Just some, again, I didn't preface this, I didn't prepare you with this, and you're pulling these from the top of your head, but what are some memories that will always stay with you about your time here at Central Penn?
Well, let's see. Well, first off, I have to say, you talked about what keeps you here. It really is like a family. I mean, it really is to be able to walk across campus and say hello to everybody and really kind of know almost every student or every person that you come across. That's important to me. I'm famous for, or however you want to say it, I like to know the name of the custodian to the name of the president, and I like to know everybody in between because everyone has an impact on the job that I'm doing on a daily basis in some way, shape, or form. So I think that's very important. But back to some of the best memories. Well, we were talking about the nightly news, and if we recall correctly, I think one of the first sponsors that actually gave us money to start purchasing things were the Gladstones.
Yes.
Yes.
I do recall that. In fact, during the 200th podcast celebration, we just aired a couple of the commercials that we did for Bill, which are still on our YouTube channel, by the way.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, yeah.
And he still has a bobblehead here.
Yes.
So that was the star of our commercials.
Yes.
We're holding up a Bill Gladstone bobblehead.
Gladstone.
This was from, 2016.
I was going to say, yeah,
when we did these
it had to
commercials,
be.
but he challenged us to put a few groups of students together and do commercials for the Gladstone group.
Right.
With the bobblehead. And again, I do encourage you to go to our YouTube channel. All of those commercials are still there.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was a blast. It was so much
Yeah.
fun to do. And I still remember Norm and Sherry were and Yuli were such big advocates of all of that. And that was a really memorable time.
It was fun. Let's see. I was here for the 10-year anniversary celebration for the Education Foundation because it was created in 2004. So 2024 we gave out our first scholarship in 2005. So 2025 will be 20 years that we gave out our first.
2025 is 20 years for the foundation,
Yes.
10 years for the nightly news. How about
Yeah,
that?
isn't that
Oh,
wild?
look at this.
Yeah,
It's all connecting.
So,
It's
yeah.
like a big puzzle web.
So, so that was exciting. Just meeting the students and working with the different people is really what it is. I love my golf outings. I always love my golf outings.
And I just want to say, so I've been a part of these, oh my gosh, at least the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And now listen, I am a golfer. I golf in many tournaments. I put my own tournament on to benefit the foundation.
Right.
You do it better than I ever could do it in a million years. You're so organized. You have it down to a T. And I even said before you came on, Trisha, I said, Sandy, you have to keep coming back for these golf tournaments. I mean, it's and trust me, I know that the last thing that you want to do in retirement is look back. You're looking forward. You're looking
Right.
to new things and new adventures and to travel and to not have you tied to one place. But you have done such amazing work with the golf tournament. I just hope that in the future, Trish is able to kind of lean on you.
I mean, golf is a leisure activity. That wouldn't be really like a bad thing to come back to. Golf is fun.
Well, it's the tournament itself. That's what people used to say to me all the time. Oh, so Sandy, you golf? I said, no. I throw a party around golf.
Right.
I know nothing about
You
golf.
don't play it at all?
I do not golf at all.
Oh,
You
wow.
know stuff about you understand.
I
how scoring
understand it.
works.
I understand it, but I don't golf. I golfed one time many, many, many years ago, and I say to people, you've seen Happy Gilmore, the movie
Yeah,
Happy
yeah, I
Gilmore?
think I've
Okay,
seen Happy
I
Gilmore.
played field hockey for 4 years in high school, so I feel like I'm a little bit like Happy Gilmore out on the
Happy
course.
Gil- so you just hit it?
I just hit
One
it,
shot?
and it's like, okay, where does it go? We're going to go from there. But I love the golf outings. They are a lot of work, but the funny thing is that they go without a hitch, or it seems to people that they go without a hitch, which is all that's important. But the biggest thing as people are leaving, it's not about how many teams, it's not about how much I've raised, it's not about any of that. It's about the fact that when every golfer leaves that event, they stop to say they had a wonderful time. And that's really all that's important about that day. Now, it's important that we raise funds, but if everybody's having a good time, 9 times out of 10, we're going to meet our goal in raising the funds.
right.
So, yeah.
Well, Sandy, listen, it's been such a pleasure to have you on now for the 16th time, our Shining Star for the year. I can't let you out of here without telling us what you're going to be doing after you hang it up.
I don't really have specific plans.
Rest, sleep.
The Bahamas.
I'm going,
Oh, yeah, the Bahamas.
I'm going to, I said, you know what I'm really looking forward to? I'm looking forward to getting up in the morning and drinking my cup of coffee and walking my dog on my time. Instead of 5:30 in the morning, get up, make the coffee, exercise, get the shower, get the dog, walk the dog, back home, get changed, out of the house by 20 minutes of 8. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Will I do
routine.
Yeah, that's right. Will I do some traveling? I have sister and brother in Florida, so I'm planning to go visit them for a little bit. And then in the back of my head, I'm toying with the fact of getting an RV and traveling.
What?
RVs are
you
so
didn't say that
cool.
to me.
Yeah.
Great
Yes.
secrets. Oh my gosh, you're all coming out of the
That's
bag
so
now.
fun.
Yeah. I'm toying with that idea. So
More power to you. I can't see myself driving an RV. I would be a passenger in the RV. I'll go with you.
well, my
Don't ask
dog
me
is going to
drive.
come with me.
They go off propane or diesel. Is it propane or diesel?
Well, it's just regular gas.
Oh,
I'm not going to
regular
get
gas?
diesel.
Okay.
Because diesel's much more expensive. I'm going to get regular gas. But yeah, so I'm going to get a small. I'm thinking about getting a small RV,
Gotcha.
something that I can drive, that I'm comfortable in. And yeah, people say to me, "Oh my goodness, aren't you afraid?" No. I have a dog. Its bark is enough to scare people. Whether or not she'll lick them to death, I don't know. But the bark in itself is enough to deter anyone from coming in.
Sandy, as fun as this was,
Yes.
I'm going to be sad to watch you walk out the door. I'm going to be sad when you're not here anymore. But I know that we'll always have a bond that
Yes,
because
we
of
will.
everything we've gone through over the last decade here. And all I can really say is thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you on behalf of the students for everything you do. Thank you on behalf of the faculty for everything you do. You're going to be missed. I got to make sure I get your contact information so we can stay in touch.
Absolutely.
But I just wish you well. And I
Thank
hope
you so very
that
much.
retirement is everything you hope it's going to be.
I hope it is too. Although I have to tell you, I've had several job offers, and I keep telling people I
goodness.
didn't retire yet. So you never know. You might see me at the golf tournament.
I
Oh,
s-
no.
I-
Oh, no.
I don't know.
I certainly hope so. And Trisha, it was such a pleasure to meet you. Of course, next term and in the summer as well, we always have you on. And of course, that will always be extended to you to talk about the individual scholarships and promote those. But it was so nice to get to meet you and learn more about you and know that we have so much in common in terms of where we were born and where we've lived. So it's great that we can move forward with that. And I just wish you luck, and I hope you enjoy these last few weeks with Sandy, because I know that you're going to try to get as much from her as you possibly can.
Well, I have her on speed dial, so
Yes. I won't let her hang.
it's not going to be goodbye. It's going to be see you later, see you soon. We'll talk soon. But same, thank you so much for having me. I look forward to, sharing information on the scholarship process and getting more kids involved.
100%.
Yes.
That's something you always will have from me. And Noah, of course, it's always a pleasure to have you. You've been such an integral part of the podcast over the past few terms, and you continue doing an amazing job.
Well, thank you, sir. I like being on the podcast. I like these discussions. They're fun. They're nice. They're lighthearted, and they add a sense of, well, what can I say? I don't know, connection to the school. It makes
Yeah.
me feel like I'm part of the school spirit. I'm giving back to the student body, and it makes me feel like whenever I graduate, I can go back and look at this and be like, this is what I did.
100%.
Absolutely.
No
So
question
cool.
about it.
Right.
Well, again, we wish you the best, Sandy.
Thank you so very much.
And
I really appreciate it.
I most certainly will stay in touch. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. For Trisha Comstock, for the most wonderful shining star Sandy Box, and for news correspondent Noah Lopez, this is Professor Paul Miller, and we'll see you again next time on the Nightly News Podcast.
This is Brett Savaleski, co-president of the Nightly News Media Club, and you are listening to the Nightly News Podcast.
This is Nightly News correspondent Noah Lopez with the Fall 2024 episode of the Nightly News Brief. This news podcast features audio versions of stories from our student reporters. Articles by Abby Bresky, Tam Bowie, Noah Lopez, and Nick Hogan are featured in today's episode. As the weather turns colder and the leaves shift to shades of crimson and orange, autumn traditions are set to begin. Halloween, a holiday deeply associated with spooky imagery and festive customs, often comes to mind first. Celebrated with activities like dressing up in costumes, trick-or-treating, and carving pumpkins, many Halloween traditions can be traced back to ancient Celtic practices. Halloween's origins lie in the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, a pagan celebration marking the harvest. It was believed that during Samhain, the boundary between the living and the dead was blurred, with spirits roaming the earth to protect their crops from these spirits. The Celts wore costumes and lit bonfires. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as All Saints' Day to honor saints, with the evening before All Hallows' Eve, eventually evolving into Halloween. By 43 AD, the Roman Empire had conquered much of Celtic territory. Roman traditions merged with Samhain, including Feralia, a day for honoring the deceased, and the celebration of Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. Pomona's symbol, the apple, may explain the origins of autumn traditions like apple bobbing and candy apples. In colonial New England, Halloween celebrations were limited due to strict Protestant beliefs, but the holiday was more common in Maryland and the southern colonies. As European immigrants and Native American traditions blended, a uniquely American version of Halloween emerged. The holiday spread nationally in the late 19th century, driven by the influx of Irish immigrants fleeing the Irish potato famine. The best-known Halloween tradition, trick-or-treating while dressed in costumes, stems from the early Celtic Samhain celebration. Wearing costumes was believed to protect people from spirits that might harm crops as the weather grew colder. The custom carried over to America, where people would dress up to ask for food or money. The trick in trick-or-treat harkens back to the playful mischief associated with Samhain. Carving jack-o'-lanterns is another beloved Halloween tradition, rooted in the Irish legend of Stingy Jack. According to the tale, Jack tricked the devil multiple times, securing a promise that his soul would never go to hell. After Jack's death, neither heaven nor hell wanted him, so he was doomed to roam the earth, with only a piece of burning coal inside a carved turnip to light his way. This evolved into the custom of carving turnips and eventually pumpkins to ward off evil spirits. Today, Halloween is synonymous with horror and supernatural, with zombies, ghosts, vampires, and werewolves, cultural staples. The holiday has also inspired a wealth of Halloween-themed movies, including the iconic Halloween franchise, which debuted in 1978. The film's silent killer, Michael Myers, has become a pop culture symbol of the holiday, influencing many horror films that followed. As Halloween continues to evolve, its roots in ancient Celtic customs and early American adaptations remain at the heart of its celebration. What began as a way to honor the harvest and ward off wandering spirits has transformed into a global holiday embraced by people of all ages. Today, the traditions of costumes, trick-or-treating, and eerie stories blend seamlessly with the influence of pop culture, turning Halloween into a festive mix of history, horror, and fun. No matter how it's celebrated, the essence of Halloween, to confront the mysterious and the macabre, lives on, connecting us with generations past while allowing us to create new traditions for the future. One of the biggest issues for many people is simply that they want to help, but do not know where to start. When beginning to give back, start by opening doors for others or walking with a smile. Serving your community is assisting those around you. Volunteering is serving your community, but at its core, it is helping others. Helping our neighbors, for instance, looks different each day. If a neighbor needs help mowing a lawn, help. If the local park has a cleanup day, take the day to pitch in. This helps the community through the particular task at hand, and it helps to spread kindness, which is always worth doing. According to the U.S. Department of Labor and Industry, people who volunteer have lower mortality rates, greater functionality, and lower rates of depression later in life. Volunteer projects are put together and created for different areas. If a person has an idea for a location in need, the details can be posted on social media. such as in a Facebook group, like for volunteering, or that is dedicated to a specific community. Some people feel overwhelmed when it comes to volunteering. Many questions come to mind, such as where to start. The first checkmark to complete is to find specific interests. Some people have different purposes they wish to serve and groups they wish to help. Another thought to keep in mind is that volunteering doesn't have to be a big project. Some opportunities are as simple as standing at a table, collecting donations, or selling a product for a fundraiser. For many aspects of life, people talk about finding a why. Why do you want to do what you are doing? Or why do you want to make a difference? Some people look to solve a problem they see in their community, or a cause they learn about while driving down the road. The reason behind helping others can push someone to continue helping others and looking out for neighbors. After all, if we see an issue and we do nothing about it, then we are a part of the problem. The CPC film series made its grand return to the Capitol Blue Cross Theater on October 25th. After a hiatus during the summer term, the event was back on track for the fall term. And what better way to return than with a spooky showing of the 1999 classic Sleepy Hollow. Hosted by Professor Susan Black, a communications instructor at Central Penn College, the event lined up perfectly with Halloween week. As a result, Black chose a film that, while not horror per se, still provided plenty of thrills and chills that fit the season. Before the show, we got to sit down with Black to ask her a few questions about her opinions regarding the film and why she chose it. First, we asked Black why she selected this film. We wanted to know what drove her to pick the Tim Burton classic, as while it clearly fits the Halloween season, it is a bit more of a light-hearted story, albeit with dark and foreboding moments. Black noted, quote, "Of course I chose the film for the season, but I also feel as if this film can really resonate with a college audience," end quote. She cited how the film utilizes the concept of fear and how the most considerable anxiety for the film's protagonist, Ichabod Crane, and for many college students, is simply the fear of the unknown. Not knowing what lies beyond college is a terrifying prospect that few people are willing to think too deeply about while in school. But, as this film shows, it is when people face the unknown head-on, it becomes less scary and empowers people to continue to work toward improving their situation. We also asked Black about the role film screenings can play in enhancing student engagement or enriching the academic community. She enthusiastically spoke about seeing the Central Penn College community as a tight-knit family unit. She said that events like this, which bring the faculty, staff, and student body together, show that a smaller campus community fosters a sense of commitment, joy, and determination. After speaking with Black, the presentation on the film began. Black was extremely invested in the original Legends of Sleepy Hollow short story, written in 1820 by Washington Irving. She went in depth on the differences between the book and the 1999 film, primarily referring to the more frightening tone in Irving's story compared to the film's, still grim but more lighthearted tone. Black provided photos of the cast from the film and the original book, and even showed a time-accurate map of the town of Sleepy Hollow. Black immersed the audience lightly in knowledge that allowed people who were familiar with the story and the movie, and those who were not, to learn something about both. During the presentation, Black showed more about Burton's auteur style. His work is characterized by a distinct blend of dark fantasy, gothic visuals, quirky storytelling, and whimsical characters, which creates a unique cinematic atmosphere, recognizable across all of his films. His work often explores themes of isolation, eccentricity, and the blending of beauty with the macabre. A prime example of this is seen in Sleepy Hollow, where Burton reimagines Washington Irving's classic tale with his signature Gothic aesthetic. The film's eerie, fog-laden landscapes, exaggerated set designs, and muted color palettes showcase Burton's flair for creating atmospheric worlds. The summer 2024 term brought an unexpected change on campus for many students. The Bart A. Milano building was closed, with offices and classes moved to other buildings. The building also held the Nightly News Media Club, Nasir Harris Podcast Studio, and the Central Penn College Museum, the latter a treasure trove of Central Penn history that was used for meetings. The Underground, a complex below Milano's West Wing that includes offices, a fitness center, a dance studio, a large student lounge, and the Capitol Blue Cross Theater, the last which is used for meetings and some events, remains open. This building closure is a part of a challenge facing Central Penn College and other small private colleges across the country. As the higher education sector evolves through enrollment, declines, and changes in learning trends, these institutions are struggling to keep up with how students learn and how colleges are funded. Small private colleges like Central Penn often face financial pressures that make it difficult to maintain and upgrade campus facilities. Unlike large public universities with state funding or wealthy supporters, smaller schools must carefully manage their limited resources and search somewhere other than state legislators and other public sources to replace lost tuition. As a result, some are forced to close buildings or cut back on programs to stay afloat. Many colleges, particularly small private schools, have closed in recent years. The Pennsylvania state system of higher education adjusted not too long ago by combining 6 of its 14 universities in parts of the Commonwealth into multi-campus schools. The decision to close Milano Hall is a clear example of these struggles at Central Penn. While it's necessary for the college to adapt new education trends, such as the increasing demand for online and hybrid classes, a long-time sweet spot for CPC, it also highlights the tough choices small colleges must make to survive. The closure of Milano Hall reflects the tough choices schools like CPC must take to stay afloat. As more funding is directed toward online programs and the majors that are bringing students in, it becomes harder to keep traditional campus buildings open and to maintain programs, some of which Central Penn put on hold early this year, but could well reactivate as demand returns. In a recent interview, CPC President Linda Fredrizzi Williams explained that the closure of Milano was part of a larger plan to better use campus space. Quote, "We have a lot of extra space," end quote, explaining that CPC doesn't need as many classrooms because fewer students are attending in person. Faculty and staff were moved to other buildings, and CPC is now looking for new ways to use the empty space. Fredrizzi Williams added that the college is looking at creative ways to fill that space, adding that possible tenants could include a coffee house, a daycare center, or personal trainers. These businesses could help serve students while bringing in additional income for the college. Fredrizzi Williams addressed that these decisions were made to help keep CPC going for the long term. She went on to say, quote, "Colleges are closing at the rate of 1 a week," end quote, noting that Central Penn, founded in 1881 in Harrisburg and a presence in Somerdale since the early 1970s, is working hard to stay open by finding novel solutions to its financial problems. As a part of this effort, CPC has launched a land development plan to make better use of its campus. The college has invited businesses and organizations to submit proposals for using empty spaces, acreage on campus included. Fredrizzi Williams clarified that the college isn't selling the campus, but developing it to support the school and the local community. Several businesses showed interest soon after the request for proposals, including a nonprofit group and a healthcare clinic that could serve students and the community. College officials will update the campus community soon. To address student concerns about CPC's future, Fredrizzi Williams reassured students that the college is focused on staying open and getting more students enrolled. She encouraged students to help spread the word about CPC and invite their friends to join. When asked about campus life, Fredrizzi Williams admitted that students feel there aren't enough activities, especially on weekends. To fix this, CPC has partnered with an entertainment company to bring more events to campus throughout the year. These events will offer free or low-cost tickets to students to help make campus life more active. Despite the challenges, Fredrizzi Williams is hopeful about Central Penn's future. Fredrizzi Williams said, quote, "We're doing everything we can to keep moving forward," end quote. Though many small colleges are navigating tough times, CPC is focused on making smart decisions to ensure its long-term success. This has been Noah Lopez with the Fall 2024 episode of the Nightly News Brief.